Homework booklet 84.1 or 84, and homework 1 starts with this, a percentage of an amount, 10%. To find 10%, you divide by 10, so we're just going to do 40 over 10, which is £4. 55%. So I would probably do this as 50% plus 5%. So if I work out 50%, that's going to be £40. So 5% must be 1/10 of that. So 5% is going to be £4. Add them together to give 55%. If you have a different method, that's fine. But I think that's probably one of the more efficient methods. Next question. I'm looking for a common factor of 42 and 66x. 6 goes into both 42 and 66. So 6 times by 7 gives me 42. And 6 times by minus 11x gives me minus 66x. Again, I'm looking for a common factor. This time it's just 2. So I got 2 plus 3x in the bracket. Question 5, solving equations. Let's always use a balancing method when we're solving equations. So I'm going to take away 3 from both sides, showing full working out, even if it's straightforward for you. That gives me 6x equals 15. And then I'm going to divide by 6. And I think on this one, it's going to trip a couple people up because 6 doesn't go into 15. So we've got x equals 15 over 6. So therefore x is equal to how many holes? 2 holes, that gives me 12. And I've got 3 left over, 3 out of 6, which is the same as x equals 2.5. If you have perhaps 2 and 3 6, or 15 over 6, I suppose it's not wrong, but let's try to simplify fully. Right, question 6, there's a couple of ways of doing it. The first would be to expand the brackets out and then solve it. But you can be flexible with how you work with algebra. And I would probably divide both sides by 5 here first. So if you have a different method, wait till you get to the answer and check it. So if you've expanded it out, that would be a reasonable method as well. So 155 divided by 5. So I'm thinking how many 5s go into 155. So I make it, I think, 31. So I'm gonna end up with 31 here. And on this side, I've now got rid of the 5 multiplied by 4x minus 5, just giving me 4x minus 5. So I'm going to then add 5 to both sides. Gives me 4x equals 36. And then if I divide by 4, so 4x equals 36. Divide by 4 on both sides. X is equal to 9. Oh, we got a big product of prime factors here, so we need to use our factor trees. So we can split up 540 however we like. I might go for halving, or I might go for something bigger. I'm going to go for 54 times 10. So I got 10 and 54. So 10 can be split out into the 5 and 2, which are primes, and 54 is then going to be 9 times by 6. Neither of those are primes. I've run out of space here, so I'm going to now go back up a bit. Like here, 3 times by 3 gives me 9, and 3 times by 2 gives me 6. So it's a bit difficult to squeeze it all in, but let's see what we got. We've got 2 2s, so that's 2 times 2, or 2 squared. We've got 3 3s, so I've got 3 cubed. And I've got a 5. Express 432 is the product of primes. If it's even, we might just start off with halving it. So we got 216 and 2. Now 216, I'm going to halve that as well. So that's going to give me 108 and 2. 108, let's halve that. So it's going to be 54 and 2. 54, I'm going to go straight for here, 9 times by 6. So then I've got 3 and 3, 3 and 2. Alright, let's see what we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4 2s, 2 to the power 4. 1, 2, 3 threes, 3 to the power 3. The median number is the middle number when you put the numbers in order. The middle number when those numbers are in order. So the first job is to put these numbers in order. So I've got 8 as my lowest one. Then my next lowest, I'm just going to cross off as I go, is 15. Then my next lowest is 17. Then my next lowest is 18. Then my next lowest is 19. Then my next lowest is 21. So I put them in order. Now I need the middle value. But it's a bit of a nightmare here because my middle value is actually halfway between those two. There is no single middle value. If I cross off to find my middle two values, they're 17 and 18. So my median is halfway between those, which is 17.5 or 17. With this one, we're looking at mean. So mean is when I add the numbers up and divide by how many there are. It's the usual way that we measure average. So what I need to do is to add up all those numbers and then divide them by how many numbers there are. So I'm going to add these up. So I got 80 plus 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2. Divide it by how many numbers there are. There are 5 numbers here. So that's going to give me 80, 90, 95 divided by 5, which is going to give me 19. Question 11. We've got a BIDMAS situation. I'm going to do the brackets first. So I want to do 8 plus 5 squared. Within the bracket, I need to do my index first. So I got 8 plus 25. Not 8 plus 5 gives me 13 and then square it. I need to do the squaring first because of my BIDMAS rules. So I got 2 times by that. So I got 2 times by 33, which is going to give me 66. Next question. I've got 3 squared there, so I got 6 plus 9 there, which is 15, and then I got 12 times by 15, which should be 180. Next question. 16 divided by 0.1. Okay, so it's 16 divided by 1/10. Which is the same as 16 times by 10 over 1. This is the work we've been doing, right? Dividing by 1/10 is the same as multiplying by 10. This is the work we've been doing on fractions. So that's just going to give me 160. Okay, so we need to be good at that dividing with fractions. Or you could just do 160 divided by 1 using equivalent fractions, couldn't you? So divided by 0.1 is the same as 160 divided by 1. That would be also a very good way of working that out. That's the method I'm going to use here. 8.1 divided by 0.9 is the same as 81 divided by 9 is just 9. Make x the subject of the formula. I'm just going to take away a from both sides. Gives me y minus a equals x. This one, I've got to divide both sides by a. I need to get x on its own. That's what it means when we say make the subject of a formula. It means make it about x. So have x on its own. Find a way. At the moment a is multiplied by x, or x is multiplied by a. So to get it back on its own, I have to divide both sides by a. Y divided by a equals x. 20% as a fraction. 20% is 20 out of 100, which is the same as 1/5. Right? If I divide top and bottom by 20. This is the same as what out of 100? This stuff we've been working on. So I'm going to times by 4. I'm going to times by 4. Sorry. So that's going to give me 20 out of 100. So that's just 20%. It's also 1/5. Right. This is stuff about this formula y equals mx plus c, the equation of a straight line, which we've not done work on yet, really. But basically, any straight line can be written in this way, any straight line on the graph. The m, it stands for the gradients. Now, why it's m, I haven't yet worked out, like why it would be called m. If anyone can figure that out, definitely Haribo in it. But this m here, it means the gradient, okay? So it's going to be the gradient of the line. The gradient of line is the slope how steep a line is the gradient. Don't worry, we'll do plenty of work on this. Then this bit here, the plus c part, that is the y-intercept of a line. Now, I appreciate this is a bit weird because we haven't done really any work on this. But what the y-intercept is where a line crosses the y-axis. So if you have a graph with an x and a y-axis, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So in this case, where it crosses the y-axis is -1. And in this case, where it crosses the y-axis is -10.